Okay, so what are powers of attorney? Powers of attorney are an estate planning tool that are usually done when someone does their will. So the first thing to understand is the difference between a will and a power of attorney. A will says, this is what happens to all of my stuff when I pass away. This is who's in charge. This is who gets my kids, if I have minor children, that sort of thing. But I like to say that it comes alive after the person who's wrote it, signed it, has died. Powers of attorney are documents that essentially come alive as soon as they are signed, and they are only as good for as long as the person who signed them is alive. And what they do is they name people or a person that is allowed to make decisions on behalf of the person who has signed those documents. So for me, if I am drafting my power of attorney, I'm saying to my lawyer, okay, if I am alive, but I'm not able to make decisions on my own anymore. So let's say I've developed dementia. I am in a coma. I have some reason that's making it so that I'm alive, but I'm not able to make my own decisions, okay? This is the person who is allowed to make decisions for me. And usually when we're dealing with married couples, you've got your spouse as your first person. And then I always recommend that you have an alternate, especially because, we often travel with our spouse. We're often close in age with our spouse. So I would say, okay, my husband is my decision maker, my attorney. So here's something where we have to just step out and do a little definition. Usually when we hear the word attorney, we think lawyer because we're used to watching American TV, American movies, and they call their lawyers attorneys. Not so in Ontario. When we're talking about a power of attorney in Ontario, we're talking about a decision maker that would make decisions on our behalf. So when you hear attorney, think agent, think substitute decision maker. So I'm telling my lawyer, okay, I'm not able to make my own decisions. I want my husband, Mitch, to make those decisions for me. If he's not able to make decisions, or let's say he's passed away before me, then I'm naming my sister as my backup decision maker. And we'll post another video on how best to choose those people in those roles, because it's not always, it's a decision you want to make with your heart and not your head. So some people will tell me, oh, I got to name all my kids because I'll hurt someone's feelings. Okay, yes, you might hurt someone's feelings, but by naming the wrong decision maker, you might actually end up hurting yourself. So in Ontario, there are two types of powers of attorney. There's one for personal care. So I tell people that's like your medical decisions. It has to do with anything that I'm dealing with doctors, maybe even long-term care, those sorts of decisions. The other one is what's called a general power of attorney or a power of attorney for property. And I tell my clients, this is like your financial decisions. So it deals with bank accounts. It deals with anything that you own. It is a document that says, if I'm unable to make decisions, or at any time I want to assign those decisions to someone else, then I can say, okay, this person is going to sign on my behalf to sell my home. Sometimes people will use a power of attorney for property or a general power of attorney if they're traveling and they need to have an agent working on their behalf while they're gone. Most often, we're dealing with power of attorney for property, which is medical decisions, and then we're dealing with power of attorney for personal care, which is, power of attorney for property, which is financial decisions, and then power of attorney for personal care, which is your medical decisions.